Guys and dolls, so I want to bring this video up. I mean to bring this video for a long time, and just other things that become on up and up and prioritizing. It isn't about Britain; it's about America, but you can take a lot from it. And I have also put a clip in the middle of it, where from our famous Dino Bean, and you know, I will put the link to the rest of the video, that particular video, which is definitely worth watching, in the description. And boy, behave. And so I will do a wee piece after it. Now, I'm asking you just to stick with it. It's not that long. It's not that long. And there's just a wee clip of Dino being in the middle, just because I didn't want to go and look at the bit that he's pulling out because I've seen it in his platform. So I wanted to do the right thing and just give him credit for it because that's where I've seen it. And, I will, like I say, just cover a few things at the end. Probably just say some stuff that you're probably thinking. And I think it's always good to know that we're all thinking the same thing. So enjoy.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990. Now, who in the world deserves our humanitarian compassion? The World Bank has one measure of the desperately poor of the world. They make less than $2 a day. And how many people make less than $2 a day in the world? We'll start with Africa. In Africa alone, there are 650 million people who make less than $2 a day. 650 million. And in India, another 890 million people, desperately poor. China adds another 480 million people, making less than $2 a day. And unfortunately, the rest of Asia has a heartbreaking 810 million people who the World Bank says make less than $2 a day. And finally, there's 105 million of Latin America's population that are desperately poor. All told, the World Bank says there are 3 billion people in the world, 3 billion people who are desperately poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year, we take 1 million and suggest that we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Of course, we don't pull our immigrants from these desperately poor populations, do we? These people are too poor, too sick, too disconnected to make it here as immigrants. We tend to pull our immigrants out of the better off poor of the world. And Mexico tends to define the type of immigrant that we bring here because the plurality of people come from Mexico. And Mexico is poor. How many people in the world live in countries that have average incomes lower than that of Mexico? And the World Bank tells us that that number is these 3 billion plus another 2.6 billion people. 5.6 billion people in the world who live in countries with average incomes below that of Mexico. That's 5,600 gumballs. And so what is it that the elites are telling us? They're telling us that when we take this 1 million immigrants, that we somehow or another are tackling world poverty. And we have to do it regardless of the effect on our unemployed, the working poor, the most vulnerable members of our society, regardless of the effect on our natural resources. Even if we went by the most radical proposals in Washington, which are to actually double our immigration to 2 million a year, which would totally overwhelm our physical, natural, and social infrastructures, we couldn't make a noticeable difference. And we may be really hurting the impoverished people of the world because the million that we do take are among the most energetic, often the better educated, certainly the most dissatisfied people that if they did not immigrate would be the agents for change to improve the lot of all the people in these countries. The true heroes in the global humanitarian field are the people in these countries who have the wherewithal to immigrate to another country, but instead stay in their countries, to apply their skills to help their fellow countrymen.
We have seen net migration treble, but we've seen overseas recruitment. So for employers recruiting from overseas has gone up about sevenfold in the last 3.
Why? Why has it done that when the unemployment rate has also been rising? The unemployment rate in this country has risen while you've been importing record numbers of people as well.
3 or 4 years, at the same time as training has been cut back. So, for example, engineering visas have near double at the same time as engineering apprenticeships have near half. And the point he's making is that is not a working system. And that is why what we need to do is make sure that we have net migration coming down as we're training our young people to get the skills that they need to be able to boost our economy,
Sounds great. Are you going to do it? No? Just going to increase immigration? All right, okay.
Productivity. So it's linking those things together in a really sensible way, not ramping up the rhetoric, but having a serious, sensible plan about what's...
Oh, they're the serious, sensible people that just say that you're not English. And if you do claim to be English, genetically, you're a racist and evil.
the right thing for our country.
Yvette, thank you.
Unfortunately, our immigration system tends to entice these very type of people to abandon their countrymen. The impossibility of making even a dent is actually worse than it looks here. Because last year, when we took 1 million immigrants, these countries added, births over deaths, 80 million more people into the impoverished populations. And this year, Congress is bringing in 1 million legal immigrants. And this year, according to the United Nations, these countries are expected to add another 80 million people. And next year, you can be quite sure that Congress, unless stopped by the American voters, will bring in another 1 million immigrants. And these countries, unfortunately, will be adding another 80 million people into these impoverished nations. We could take 5 million a year, but we'd never get ahead of what's happening in these countries. Not in this century. Don't you see? Immigration can never be an effective or significant way to deal with the suffering people of the world. They have to be helped where they live. 99.9% of them will never be able to immigrate to a rich country. There's no hope for that. They have to bloom where they're planted. The only place that 99.9% of these people can be helped is where they live. Let's help them there.
So, as you can see, stuff that I've been saying for a long time about bringing the best out of these vulnerable countries to benefit us, because our best is leaving our countries for better wages in better countries. And, you know, with that, we do lose the industries and the apprenticeships, and it affects right through society, you know. So there's, as I keep saying, there's many arms and legs that come off this. And, you know, I put in the bit about Dino being linkable, being description, both videos. But the thing is, you know, it's, they know what they're doing. This is what you can take from Yvette Cooper. They know what they're doing, you know. And come on, girl, you come here. Come on, come on. You get. Be nice. Next to me. Be nice. And you know, it's like we know what's going wrong, and they keep on doing it, and there's no reason for them to do it. When they say they're engineers or doctors or nurses, you know, we keep on saying, so where's our engineers and doctors and nurses gone? They're the questions that they don't like answering, you know, because it blows out the reason why they're doing it. It gives us the reason, it explains us in layman's terms that stay. It tells us in layman's terms that, you know, they're here to work, to do cheap labor. They're here because the government won't pay our people the money. And we genuinely are leaving these countries in a worse state. And when they also said about the most energetic, these are the fighting age men. that are getting over. It's the shrewd ones, the clever ones, the ones that mightn't be here for the right reasons, are the ones that will have the capability. Criminals, people like that, terrorists, they'll always be here first. And that's why we have so many on the terrorist watch list right now. That's why our intelligence service is overwhelmed. It's not just about what we see going on in Ireland and what we see going on in England with the horrific crimes and the type of crimes on an economic level for both the countries that these people are coming from and our country. This is a disaster from day one. So as a logical thinking man who just sees the world logically, nothing makes any sense to me. And that's why as we go forward, more will be highlighted, so less that they can say. When they tell us one thing and we counteract that with facts and figures and reality of life itself, then they don't have anything to say after that, because this is all they've got. As we go forward, there are excuses and reasons for bringing so many people into this country from foreign countries and so many people from Muslim countries, because we see that there's not doctors and engineers coming. We see that they might be here to do the jobs we don't want to do, like security, caring after our elderly, you know what I mean? And cleaning toilets, Like I say, the reason why they're bringing in the cheap labour is because they won't give the people of this country the right money to do these things. They're the most difficult jobs in our society. And we should never have people coming from other countries and caring for our elderly, because they don't know the culture, the traditions that our elderly have been through. And that can create problems. We've seen evidence of cruelty happening to our elderly by people that came into this country. And I'm not saying they're all bad, but if we don't know the bad ones from the good ones, how do we take the risk? How do we ever take the risk with our elderly? It'll be you one day. It might be you one day being looked after by somebody that's just come in this country 4, 5, 6 months. And it only brings you to one conclusion, guys. And this is what you're going to get. And yeah, I'm not one of the first ones to say it, but probably one of the first ones that you've heard saying it. We are being replaced. There's no two ways about it. We are being gaslit, and we are being conned under the guise of all these excuses. But as we go forward, there's only going to be one reason, and that's for voting. These people are getting brought in to vote. So when you bring foreigners into the country, it's to vote, and they've only been here 3 or 4 months. They've no experience of the traditions or the culture. Doesn't make any sense to anybody unless you know that it's being done on purpose to vote for the people that are bringing them in. They're going to carry on destroying our country. No longer can they use excuses. We're getting cleverer and clever. Like I say, we're clever prods, clever Catholics, and we have loads of experience of the destruction of England and Ireland. I'm Freedom Dad, and God bless.